together for General Chapter, consider ourselves embraced by God's cradling hands of life and hope. Throughout successive generations, our foremothers in faith kept their promises of fidelity. They focused their hearts and footsteps on the charism and mission of the earliest foundation and upon the vision of Father Medai and the 6 founding women.
Eccoci davanti a te, Dio d'amore, la nostra più grande sorgente di riconciliazione e di unità. Tuo Figlio Gesù, inviato all'umanità come promessa di vita eterna, è sorgente di energia e di dinamismo per vivere un amore di compassione e di servizio verso tutta la creazione. Noi gridiamo verso di te, eccoci Signore. Siamo aperte per cercare i segni del nostro tempo che chiedono la nostra attenzione.
Nous sommes ensemble dans la prière comme congrégation du grand amour de Dieu. En entrant dans ces journées du chapitre général, nous nous unissons par le cœur, la prière et la vision à toutes les sœurs, des associés et nos partenaires dans la mission. Ainsi, nous élargissons le rêve et la prophétie que notre charisme va entrer dans une nouvelle période de l'histoire du salut qui s'exprimera peut-être par de nouvelles façons d'agir et d'être parmi le peuple de Dieu.
Somos mulheres que têm como modelos Ruth e Noemi, mulheres corajosas que se arriscam no desconhecido e nas novas situações em que se encontravam. Capazes de atravessar desertos e montanhas em uma nova terra. Elas restauraram a alegria, a esperança, o amor e a fé nos corações das pessoas. Que possamos fazer caminho como Ruth e Noemi, com as mentes, os corações e as mãos abertas, sempre livres para caminhar corajosamente para o nosso futuro, à medida que vamos descobrindo, segurando as mãos umas das outras e as de Deus, nós nos esforçamos para trazer reconciliação e unidade para as periferias do nosso mundo fragmentado.
Lord God, Father and Mother of us all, throughout these past 6 years since the 2009 General Chapter, we have made efforts in our daily mission and ministries to be a unifying presence in the world and to live solidarity with our brothers and sisters. With your grace and dynamism of spirit, we have advanced our interdependence as an international congregation, as we supported one another in moments of discernment, restructuring, welcoming, communicating, and celebrating a common history. Thus, we are able to pray together, each in our own language.
Nós levantamos nossas vozes, canções e proclamamos. Help me to see your face, open my eyes, Lord. Help me to see.
Confident of God's continual presence to us, and open to surprises of love, we continue our journey, contemplating the dynamic nature of our seeing as we follow in the Creator's footsteps, always grounded in our humanity. Fragmented world.
Olhe a sua imagem.
Regardez,
Guarda la tua immagine. Gesù Cristo, Redentore del mondo, si è fatto obbediente al sogno del Creatore, la salvezza di tutti. Noi, figlie di San Giuseppe e fedeli discepole di Gesù, abbiamo questo stesso sogno per tutti i nostri fratelli e sorelle di oggi.
Que sejamos humildes instrumentos de reconciliação, compaixão e unidade, caminhando firmemente na missão. Sabemos que isso pode significar aceitar tanto a alegria como o sofrimento como religiosas consagradas, enquanto vivemos com grande zelo e profundo compromisso que nos chamam a ir para a frente. Que as nossas palavras e ações estejam em uníssono de tal modo que testemunhemos a solidariedade entre nós e com os outros.
Gazing into the mirror that represents our fractured world, we find so many disfigured faces, abandoned and unsheltered people who are excluded from basic human rights and dignity. Their desperate situations need the grace of our mission and the comfort we may bring to them. In a similar way, Earth and her precious resources need our attention and care so that they will be able to be available to all without exception.
aujourd'hui, en entrant dans notre chapitre général 2015, nous vous remercions et nous vous louons. Nous reconnaissons le caractère impératif de l'Évangile qui nous invite à nourrir ceux qui ont faim, à vêtir ceux qui sont nus, à fournir un abri à ceux qui sont dans le plus grand besoin et à leur manifester notre compassion. Nous prions pour que ce temps du chapitre général soit source de vie et de transformation pour chacune de nous, pour la congrégation tout entière et pour notre monde.
Open our ears, Lord. Help me to hear your voice. Open my ears, Lord. Help me to hear.
And the
the
Os
first
primeiros
shall be
serão
last,
os últimos e
and our
nos ouvirão
ears
se
will be
abrirão.
opened.
Vamos
Hear
ouvir
like
como
never
nunca
before,
antes e
and
vamos
see
falar de
new
novas
ways,
maneiras e
and
vamos
see
ver o
God's
rosto de Deus
face
em pessoas que nunca
never
conhecemos antes.
Open us to your surprises and to the voices of those who travel with us. Encourage us to listen attentively for your smallest whisper. We continue our journey, contemplating the dynamic nature of listening as we follow in the Creator's footsteps, always grounded in our humanity.
Senhor Deus, santo respiro de vida, você nos encontra no cruzamento das nossas vidas e escolhas. Assim como Ruth e Noemi eram mulheres que compartilhavam uma visão profética, que se deslocavam em uma terra distante, longe de sua terra natal, esperamos avançar com uma visão e esperança semelhantes, arriscando tudo para seguir o chamado do Criador.
Cette vision nous invite à fortifier nos communautés actuelles et nos communautés encore à découvrir pour être ouvertes à découvrir de nouvelles manières de transformer notre monde. C'est notre commune espérance de partager nos ressources, nos idées et nos connaissances les unes avec les autres. Comme pour le blé qu'on vanne, nous demandons à Dieu d'utiliser les semences de nos vies pour faire le pain qui devient nourriture pour les autres.
In nuovi campi di azione abbiamo risvegliato dei vecchi sogni di costruire un mondo più giusto dove tutti siano uguali e benvenuti alla tavola dell'abbondanza. Nel nostro carisma e nella nostra missione risuona il desiderio di Gesù, che tutti siano uno. Noi continuiamo a scrivere la storia iniziata da Padre Medaglia e le nostre prime suore molto tempo fa.
We cultivate a spirit of hope in spite of serious situations in the world. Refugees fleeing war-torn countries, lack of immigration reform, terrorism, religious intolerance, and the decline of family values. We affirm our co-responsibility to share insights and possible ways to address these realities.
Open our hearts, Lord. Help me to share your love. Open my heart, Lord. Help me to love.
And the first shall be last, and our hearts will be opened. We will love like never before, and will speak in new ways, and will see God's face in the people we've never known before.
We hope to love as you love, most compassionate one. May we seek to serve you lovingly as we reach out to our brothers and sisters, especially the least ones among us. We continue our journey into the chapel with Ruth and Naomi, contemplating the dynamic nature of loving as we follow in the Creator's footsteps, always grounded in our humanity.
The disciples came and said to him, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" Jesus said, "To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For to those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have not, even what they have will be taken away. This is why I speak in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. With them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah that says, "You shall indeed hear, but never understand. And you shall see, but never perceive. The people's hearts have grown stubborn, and their ears are heavy of hearing, and their eyes are closed to the truth. If they could perceive with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, they would turn to me for healing. Blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. Truly I say to you, many prophets and upright people longed to see what you see, and did not see it, and to hear what you hear, and did not hear it. Blessed are you who see and hear and understand with your hearts, for thus it is that you believe." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I will call your name and invite you to come forward. And when you come, you select any puzzle piece on the altar, turn it over, leave it up, and write your name on it. There's pens there. Then you place the puzzle piece name side up, into the same space from which you took it. This is a symbol and a sign of your willingness to participate, to be present, and to be an integral part of the 2015 General Chapter. Agnes Batasheri. Alice, I'm going to call you up in groups of 8, 9, or 10. So come up one by one. And Agnes Batasheri. Alice Abraham. Barbara Mullen. Mandila Rame. Anita Maria Pastor. Annetta Multabat, have for God an expansive love that includes all that love is capable of, and all that a heart can love in God and for God. Anis Padayatil, Antonia Mondro, Augusta Milaco, Claudia Mendez. May your love be profound at your heart's center, unable to be uprooted by anything in creation. Clementina Copia, Julia Cambruzzi, Dolores Lar, Donna Hoffman, Dorothy Beck, Ileana Costa Santana. Elisa Fatima Suanazi, Gabriela Hilaire Duran, Jenny Esquiz Pereira, let your love be unifying, that is, let it unite you completely and totally to God through the thoughts you think, the affections you feel, and the holiness of your words and works. I call the following sisters to come forward. Ieda Maria Tomasini, Ilda Brandalise, Jaya Matthew. Janine Barrier, Joan Margaret Kelly, Jonah Chinnipen, Katia Ray Jane Tassi, Laura Gavazzoni, Lorraine Marie Delaney, Louisa Rodriguez. Let your love be unselfish, and let it always direct you to seek the interests of God's glory alone, even to emptying yourself of all that hinders hearing God's word in you and in others. I call the following sisters to come forward. Malati Vasogauda, Maria Clara Pena Viera, Maria Cristina Gavazzi, Maria Elena Assetti. Marianne Bode, Maranisi Silva Guiamardes, Marit Brinkman, Nilsa Maria Delarzari, Miriam Rosa Nicolodelli, Nidhi Parampilli, Ophelia Fernandez, Philomena Pichapilli, Reggie Komoroth, Regina Salia Liz, Rita Tesaro, Rosalia Favero, let your love be communicative, obliging you to give yourself without reserve to God, so that you may say in truth the words of the spouse, I belong to my beloved belongs to me. I call the following sisters forward. Rosalind Mondoth, Sadaf Patras Michael, Sally Marie Hodgson, Shakila Mariam Bhatti, Susan Cunningham, Susanna Hoyes, Linda Pepe, Delcia Decker, Flavia Hulo-Karen, Joyce Kanakuno. May your love be full of purpose and ardor. Let your love be active. That is, may it keep loving and urge your heart to keep working for God and for the dear neighbor, near and far. Paula Gobi. We are now calling the other sisters and lay people who are assisting us to live this general chapter session to come and place a puzzle piece also. Paula Gobi. Toya and Verma. Ivani, Betsy, Gabriella, Claudia, and Cornelia. Rosalia, Rosella, Barbara, Ozak, Andrea, Navia, Mary. I would ask Ruth and Naomi to just stand here while we push the puzzle piece together. Marlena? Come on up, Marlena. I'm sorry I forgot you. As they give the final push to bring the puzzle, our world, our chapter together, I declare the 2015 General Chapter Session open. Now this is the magic, that it doesn't fall apart.
Olhos abertos sobre um mundo miserável e pecador, mas um mundo trabalhado pelo Espírito Santo. Olhos abertos e ouvidos atentos aos sofrimentos do mundo.
Gli occhi aperti, le orecchie attente e lo spirito umile, mai in riposo, sempre ansioso di capire, di indovinare ciò che Dio e il prossimo attendono da noi.
Eyes open, ears attentive, spirit alert, sleeves rolled up for ministry, without excluding the more humble, the less pleasing, the less noticeable.
Finally, in our faces, the reflection of the virtue proper to our congregation, continual joy of spirit. This is the quiet inner glow of women whose lives in the service of Jesus Christ have been successful. Amen. Follow them downstairs. The two, Ruth and Naomi will lead us downstairs to the chapter. Of this, God who began this good work in you and among you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. from Philippians 1:6. Good afternoon. Boa tarde. Bom pomeriggio. Apremidi. Our 2015 General Chapter session has begun. We are grateful to our loving God for bringing all of us safely to this sacred place, a space in which we will walk on the holy ground of our own sharing of who we are and of the questions and dreams we live every day. We thank Sister Barbara Mullen and Sister Arzilla, who was on the committee from the chapter planning group, for preparing our opening ritual. It was so meaningful. And we also thank all those who helped Barbara with their participation in the ritual and their preparation of the ritual. So thank you very much. During these days together, we will see how we have lived our commitments from the 2009 General Chapter, how we have grown in different ways, expanding our tents, creating new partnerships, and welcoming new people into our hearts and neighborhoods. We will continue to unpack our 2015 General Chapter theme, living the dynamism of reconciliation and communion in the peripheries of our fragmented world. This unpacking demands of us attentive listening to all this theme, and the Spirit urges us to live in these next years. We will explore the new and ongoing calls we are hearing, discerning where God is directing us to offer our presence now and into the future. But first, let us see where we are as we begin this journey by looking at the context in which we have lived these past 6 years. Our General Chapter is not only a sacred moment for us as Sisters of St. Joseph of Chambéry, but it is a sacred moment for all of the Church. As women called to be prophetic within our diverse realities, the Church at times celebrates us, and at other times questions us, and may even sometimes shun us. But we must remain true to our role of prophetically living and sharing our particular charism with others. In these past 6 years, as a global church, we have lived the year of faith. We have also lived the scandals of corruption and greed within the institutional church. We've celebrated the 50th anniversary of Vatican II. We also lived through the apostolic visitations and doctrinal investigations involving sisters in the United States. We lived through the surprising and historic resignation of Pope Benedict XVI. And we celebrate the fresh spirit, compassion, and vision of Pope Francis. And now we've lived and are living the year of consecrated life. So very much going on in these 6 years. It is important to ask ourselves, what has been our stance, our position, or our impact as prophetic women of reconciliation and communion throughout all of these events? For example, did we help to amplify the voices in the peripheries so that they were heard by the church? Certainly, we have lived some of the graces of these special times. The year of faith, for example. The Year of Faith offered all of us the opportunity to reflect anew on our faith and to own how our faith has matured and deepened over the years as we, as adult women religious, have changed through our living out of the spirit of Vatican II and our living out of our lived experience of God. Yet, in the world at large, what was the effect of this year of faith? Prophets in the Old Testament had strong statements that the quality of faith of a group of people will be judged by the quality of justice in the land, by how the poor are treated. Using this as a measuring stick, how did we do? During the difficult moments of some of these events, hopefully true to our charism, we were a presence of support, as well as a voice calling for reflection, honesty, dialogue, and integrity. This year of consecrated life allowed us to deepen our identity as vowed women religious, to deepen it both internally and in different public venues, celebrating and articulating in present-day language who we really are and how we live our response to our call from God. During these same 6 years, we saw the global economy change, with many Eastern countries growing and becoming stronger partners in the world of trade and commerce. And we saw some Western countries becoming weaker because of continued corporate greed and poor decisions. This greed and growth resulted in making more people poor and concentrating wealth more solidly in the hands of a few in so many of our countries. Civil wars and border conflicts have increased exponentially during these years as more rebel groups and violent religious or ideological groups such as ISIS have risen up to power. Prejudices, intolerance, and religious bias are rampant and evidenced through greater acts of violence in so many countries. Millions of people have been killed. Entire countries have been destroyed. And we now face a refugee and migrant crisis of immense proportion. This is our global reality. What perspective have we offered as prophetic women of reconciliation and communion throughout these events? Which of these cries and calls are thirsting for the dynamism of living reconciliation? Within the life of our congregation, the journey of these 6 years has brought us new life, and some of it from unexpected areas, such as the increase of numbers of new members in Norway from Vietnam, the fusion of our Notre Dame de la Croix sisters, and our accompaniment of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Handan in China. Life from different places. The movement of Brazil Integrando continues to offer life and possibilities. We have also been called to make sacrifices and to think creatively as the number of our sisters has declined overall, and more so in certain provinces, regions, and missions. We have been graced in being present in new ways to our sisters in their process of aging, of illness, and preparing to return to God. Our new partnerships with other congregations and laity have enriched us with fresh perspectives and energy in reaching out to so many urgencies. So what has been our stance as dynamic women of reconciliation and communion throughout this growth and change in the congregation. Building on the graces of these last 6 years. Yes, our tents have been stretched by all of these, church, world, and congregational events. Not experienced as separate 1, 2, 3, but rather as the integrated life we live each day. We must continue to build on the graces and vulnerabilities of these last 6 years, with a passionate desire to fall more deeply in love with God. Grounded in this love, we will be able to offer the dynamic energy of reconciliation. A dynamism which witnesses to the joy and peace of being willing to be one with another person or situation. But we must ask ourselves several questions. How? How will we respond to the fractures in our world, created by enormous intolerance for others' beliefs, for others' color of their skin, and cultural background? How will we be present to the refugees, whose displacement and suffering is one of the major fractures of our world? We all know that cracks and crevices need to be filled in with new and fresh material to be made whole again. The same is true of fractures. A fractured bone needs to heal through the growth of new bone joining parts together. We know also that with some material, you can move it and stretch it to make it whole again. We are called to be present in these fractured areas of our world, but are we willing to be the tissues that grow together to heal? Are we willing to be the material that is stretched to reach out to those areas of fracture? Are we willing to be the fresh presence which will fill in the crevices and help to mend the cracks within our world? As a congregation, in preparation for this chapter, we prayed with Ruth and Naomi. They accompanied us here this afternoon throughout our opening ritual, and they will remain present in this chapter room during the chapter. Ruth and Naomi can be a model for us as we create our future by building on our graces. Ruth and Naomi relied on their own ingenuity, their own loving kindness, their own clear assessment of their situation. They read the signs of the times, and they did not lose sight of their current reality. The behavior they each exhibited went beyond the requirements or parameters of their law. They gave generously. They gave the more of which Jean-Pierre Médaille speaks. Their risk-taking and personal covenant to each other paved a way for a new future. But they had to let go of what they knew. They had to let go of their life before. Ruth let go of her comfortable life. She had to give up her God and chose to follow Naomi's God, Adonai, the God of Abraham and Sarah. They were able to do this, certainly, through God's grace, but also because they created and lived a relationship built on trust and compassion. They were able to do it because of their relationship of trust and compassion. In these coming days, we too will be reflecting on leaving what is comfortable for us and letting go of what we know. We will be asked to take risks in order to continue paving the way into our future. Sister Joan Chittister stated, religious life must travel light into the future, burdened by nothing of its successes of the past, held down by none of its past goals, but fresh in direction, vital in its meanings for the people today. End of quote. These days, we must listen deeply and come to know which of the ongoing and new calls need the presence of our charism with a fresh perspective and a dynamism that's necessary for today. Then, like Ruth and Naomi, relying on one another, we need to be cunning and willing to work within cultural or governmental structures to bring life and hope to those we serve. Are our relationships as Sisters of St. Joseph dynamic and alive enough to offer energy one to another so we can respond to the different calls we choose? Do we believe enough in each other's desire to live reconciliation and communion and compassion that we are willing to go with another to serve in a new periphery? We must live a generosity which stretches us far beyond ourselves and our needs. It is a generosity which demands sacrifices and suffering. How far are we willing to stretch ourselves to live authentic reconciliation within some of the fractures around us? Can we be the creative, courageous, generous, and compassionate reconcilers which God is inviting us to be? Are we willing to put a new face on what it means to live the dynamism of reconciliation? Are we willing, like Jesus, to drink the cup of wine, the wine made from the tears and sufferings of refugees, of trafficked women, of terminally ill patients, of abandoned children, or of our own sisters? Are we willing to receive the wine of their sufferings and drink it with them? Can we allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to receive and give life in these fractures? In these weeks together, we will discover which strong calls of the church, of the dear neighbors throughout the world, or within the congregation and local communities we must respond to in these next 6 years. We will come to know in which fractures the dynamism of reconciliation needs to be lived in a spirit of joy and hope. The light and hope of our future will be determined first by the quality of our relationship with God, and then by the quality of our relationship with one another. Relationships marked by respect, trust, and communion, regardless of culture. May our sacred days together be filled with gratitude as we share our hopes and dreams and uncover God's design for the next part of our journey as women living and moving toward communion. In closing, I wish to share some of the lyrics of a song entitled Somewhere, a song from the musical West Side Story. It is a story of love in the midst of violent conflicts between neighborhood gangs. The words are, "There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, peace and quiet and open air. Wait for us somewhere. Somewhere we'll find a way of living. We'll find a way of forgiving. Somewhere. Somewhere there's a place for us, a time and place for us. Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. Somewhere, someday, somewhere. A place where reconciliation will live vibrantly." So together, let us join our hands and our hearts as we make this journey of General Chapter to the somewhere, to the place where God will continue God's work in us, allowing us to bring reconciliation, peace, and hope to those most in need of it. Thank you, and God bless you.
going to ask now for a talk to you, but wait, because I want to say something.
If the people passing the papers could just stand still for a minute, stop.
I have taken the freedom to change a bit the timetable. I think that after this wonderful talk, opening address of Sally, it is not a moment to begin talking. It is a moment to ponder, to let it sink, to reflect. So it is 20 past 4. I suggest that after this, she has shared with us the reality of the congregation during these 6 years and the reality of the world under the theme of your chapter, Living the Dynamics of Reconciliation and Communion in the Periphery of Our Fragmented World. She had also offered us very challenging questions. That's why I think silence is needed to see how they resonate in there. So, and she had also opened new paths. So my suggestion is that you take now your talk, do what you like, to spend the time of silence in prayer with the talk, and the Lord saying how that's. And my question is, what has resonated stronger in you and why? You know, what has touched you most and why? There were many questions, many challenges. In your prayer, before the Lord, and with Him, you ask, what has resonated most in me and why? And then you have your tea, you go for tea whenever you like, but in silence. And we come back here, I would say, would you like 3/4 of an hour? Eh? So it is. Then, yes, who puts up a hand? After five, because if you read people, some people will need to read the talk. They read the talk, and that takes a few minutes if you read it slowly. Then you ponder. Then you go and have some tea if you want. But we keep this atmosphere of silence and quiet. Because this is what we're going to do our time during the chapter. The chapter is going to be a chapter of discernment. How this has touched me. So it is, let us say, 25 when we finish. When you go, let us come back at 10 past 5. So 10 past 5, you come here to your communities, and in your communities, each one shares what she likes. The idea is to build a community of faith and discernment. Okay? So we meet again here.
You can pass out the papers.
We meet here at 10 past 5. Is that all right with everybody? Yes. So have a nice time with the Lord, reflecting on this challenge.